So in this session we are going to learn about the vapor compression refrigeration system. So here we are going to talk about this ideal vapor compression refrigeration system, in which there will be four major components. One is the compressor, second one is the condenser, third one is the evaporator, and the fourth one is the expansion device. So these are the four major components that we come across in a simple vapor compression refrigeration system here. Now let me draw the diagram of this vapor compression refrigeration system. So here let us consider there is a compressor, so this compressor is connected to a condenser like this. Now from this condenser there will be an expansion device here, and from the expansion device you can come across an evaporator coil. This evaporator is again connected to the compressor here. Now so this is the evaporator, here is the expansion device, this is the condenser, and here is the compressor. Now within the evaporator we will keep the products that are to be cooled. Now the refrigerant enters into the evaporator at a low pressure, lower temperature, and in the liquid form. So low pressure, low temperature liquid refrigerant enters into the evaporator. So in the evaporator, this low pressure, low temperature liquid refrigerant absorbs heat from the products that are to be cooled, and as a result of that there will be a phase change taking place at constant pressure. So here the pressure remains constant, and as the liquid refrigerant absorbs heat from the products that are to be cooled, this liquid refrigerant gets vaporized, and as a result of that at the same pressure, lower pressure, the temperature at this point and at this point may be same, or the pressure as it is remaining constant, the temperature at this point may also increase depending upon how much amount of heat that is absorbed by the refrigerant. So let us say for instance there is same temperature, so low pressure, low temperature vapor refrigerant comes out from the evaporator and enters into the compressor. Now in the compressor isentropic compression takes place, so the compression is assumed to be isentropic, and as a result of that isentropic compression in the compressor, the pressure increases, and at the same time temperature also increases. So this high pressure, high temperature vapor refrigerant comes out of the compressor and enters into the condenser. So in the condenser, this high pressure, high temperature vapor refrigerant rejects heat to the atmosphere at constant pressure. So in the condenser also the pressure remains constant and heat will be rejected to the surrounding atmosphere. As a result of that, at the same pressure, phase change takes place from vapor state to the liquid state. So high pressure, high temperature. So the temperature may be changed, may be same, or it may reduce below this saturation temperature. So high pressure, high temperature liquid refrigerant comes out from the condenser. Now this high pressure, high temperature liquid refrigerant enters into the expansion device. In the expansion device, throttling expansion takes place. That means enthalpy remains constant during expansion, and as a result of this throttling expansion, we are going to get low pressure, low temperature liquid refrigerant from the expansion device. Now the cycle repeats like this. Now let me consider the condition at which the refrigerant is entering the compressor as 0.1 and leaving the compressor as 0.2 and leaving the condenser as 0.3 and entering the evaporator as condition 4. Now see, the temperature at T1 may be greater than or equal to T4, and at the same time T3 may be less than or equal to T2. Now here, if we apply steady flow energy equation, for each of the component, because each component of this particular vapor compression refrigeration can be considered as an open system. So when we apply steady flow energy equation for the compressor, first of all, H1 is the enthalpy with which the refrigerant is entering into the compressor. Now to the compressor, work input should be given such that there will be an increase in the pressure as well as temperature. So H1 is equal to H2 minus the amount of work input that we are giving to the compressor. So from this, work input to the compressor will be H2 minus H1. So work input to the compressor is H2 minus H1 here. Now here in the condenser, heat rejection takes place to the atmosphere. So let us say H2 is the enthalpy with which refrigerant is entering into the condenser, and in the condenser heat rejection takes place at constant pressure. So let us write minus QR. This is equal to H3 enthalpy. So from this we can write heat rejected QR is equal to H2 minus H3. So this is the amount of heat that is rejected. Now in the expansion device, throttling expansion takes place. As a result of this, what happens is the high pressure, high temperature liquid refrigerant gets converted to low pressure, low temperature liquid refrigerant because of the expansion in the throttling device or expansion device. So throttling expansion means the enthalpy remains constant during this expansion. So H3 is equal to H4, but the pressure and temperature drops here in this particular condition. Now H4 is the enthalpy with which the refrigerant enters into the evaporator. In the evaporator, heat will be absorbed by the refrigerant from the products that are to be cooled. So this heat absorption can also be called the refrigerating effect or the cooling effect that is given to the products. So H4 plus the amount of refrigerating effect, this will be equal to H1. So from this, the refrigerating effect Re will be equal to H1 minus H4. So this is the refrigerating effect that we are going to get. Now see here, if you observe carefully, I have considered specific enthalpies. So the work input that we are giving to the compressor, the heat rejected, the refrigerating effect, everything we are getting here in terms of kilojoule per kg, because we have taken small h. So in order to get this work input to the compressor in terms of kilowatts or refrigerating effect in terms of kilowatts, what we need to do is we need to multiply with mass flow rate of the refrigerant that is given. So mass flow rate of the refrigerant into H1 minus H4, this will give us the refrigerating effect in terms of kilowatts. Then work input to the compressor WC will be equal to mass of refrigerant into H2 minus H1, and the amount of heat rejected QR will be equal to mass of refrigerant into H2 minus H3. Now for the refrigerator, we need to calculate COP, the coefficient of performance of the refrigerator. So the coefficient of performance of the refrigerator will be refrigerating effect by the amount of work input that we are giving to the compressor. So from this we will get the COP of the refrigerator. Suppose if I substitute COP of refrigerator is equal to mass flow rate of refrigerant into H1 minus H4 by mass flow rate of the refrigerant into H2 minus H1, then these two will get cancelled. Therefore COP of the refrigerator, this is equal to H1 minus H4 by H2 minus H1. See, this COP of the refrigerator that we have got here, we call it as the ideal COP. Ideal COP. Now in order to learn about actual COP, we need to come across actual refrigerating effect. So actual refrigerating effect means, see, let us consider that there is water at 20 degrees centigrade. I want to convert this water at 20 degrees centigrade into ice at minus 4 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure. Now let us take temperature versus enthalpy diagram here. Temperature versus specific enthalpy we have considered. So initially at 20 degrees centigrade water is there. Now this water temperature has to be reduced up to 0 degrees centigrade. Then at 0 degrees centigrade there will be a phase change from water to ice. Then if this is further cooled, the temperature goes up to minus 4 degrees centigrade ice. Now here we need to understand what is the actual refrigerating effect that is required here. So the actual refrigerating effect is the amount of heat absorbed during this total process by the refrigerant. Now here you can observe that the water temperature is decreasing from 20 to 0. So here we need to take specific heat of water into 20 minus 0 is the amount of heat absorbed. Then here there is a phase change from liquid to ice. So latent heat of ice you will consider. Then here again there is temperature drop. So specific heat of ice into 0 minus of minus 4. Now the actual refrigerating effect here is the amount of heat absorbed during this total process. For this you need to consider mass of ice produced into specific heat of ice into 0 minus of minus 4 plus latent heat of ice plus specific heat of water into 20 minus 0. So this is the actual refrigerating effect that we are going to get here. Now the actual COP of the refrigerator actual will be equal to the actual refrigerating effect that we have got here divided by the work input we have given to the compressor. This work input we need to consider. Now the work input that we are giving to the compressor is same. Ideally the refrigerating effect should be this one, mass of refrigerant into H1 minus H4. But actually due to some losses there might be variation in the refrigerating effect. That means the ideal refrigerating effect may not be equal to the actual refrigerating effect. As a result of that there will be a variation in the COP. So the difference or this variation in the COP is given by the relative efficiency or relative COP. So this relative efficiency or relative COP is given by actual COP by the ideal COP. Now actual COP is actual refrigerating effect by the work input that we are giving to the compressor, and ideal refrigerating effect is the ideal refrigerating effect that we are getting divided by the work input that we are giving to the compressor. See, as work input that we are giving to the compressor is remaining same, these two will get cancelled and relative COP can be written as actual refrigerating effect by ideal refrigerating effect also. See, the work input that we have to give to this compressor is same in both these cases. Now here I said that low pressure low temperature vapor refrigerant is entering into the compressor and coming out as high pressure high temperature vapor refrigerant. See, there might be different cases of this vapor. We can consider wet vapor entering into the compressor and coming out in wet condition, then wet vapor entering the compressor and coming out in dry saturated condition, and dry saturated vapor entering and coming out in superheated condition. Like this we may come across different conditions. So let us see what are the different conditions that we come across here usually. Now the first case is wet refrigerant entering the compressor and leaving it in the wet condition. Now this is the first case that we need to come across. Now here let me draw two diagrams. One is the pressure specific enthalpy diagram, pH diagram. The second one is temperature entropy diagram, TS diagram. So pH diagram will look like this, and TS diagram, we know that this is going to be a bell shaped curve. Now wet refrigerant is entering the compressor and leaving in wet condition. See, when wet refrigerant is entering into the compressor, it will be entering at lower pressure and lower temperature. So let us say point 1 is within this vapor dome and at lower pressure. Then here we need to consider condition 1 at this particular point. Then process 1 to 2 is isentropic compression in the compressor. So isentropic compression means 1 to 2 will be like this. Then here isentropic compression, the pressure increases and at the same time enthalpy increases due to compression. So 1 to 2 is represented like this. Then process 2 to 3 is condensation in the condenser. See, condensation happens at constant pressure. So condensation is a phase change phenomena. At constant pressure, there will be phase change from vapor state to the liquid state. So 2 to 3 we will get a horizontal line in the pH diagram. Now here second condition also is wet, because we have assumed that after leaving the compressor also it is in wet condition. Now process 2 to 3 in the TS diagram is also represented by a horizontal line, because there is a phase change from vapor to liquid state, and phase change usually happens corresponding to the saturation temperature, which is considered as constant. Then process 3 to 4 is throttling expansion, in which enthalpy remains constant. So this throttling expansion is represented as a dotted line here. The reason is that this throttling expansion is irreversible condition. So 3 to 4 should be represented as a dotted line. Then in the TS diagram, due to expansion, there will be a drop in temperature, but there will be an increase in the entropy. So 3 to 4 you will get like this. Then process 4 to 1, at constant pressure vaporization takes place. So 4 to 1 constant pressure vaporization from this condition to here in the evaporator. Then in the evaporator here, the phase change takes place at constant temperature called the saturation temperature. So this is the pH and TS diagrams here. Now we know that the condition S1 is equal to S2 because isentropic compression we have assumed. So when we have assumed isentropic compression, then during process 1 to 2 you should take S1 is equal to S2. So here we have considered isentropic compression. Then both are wet conditions, so S1, S2 we should use wet steam or wet refrigerant formulas. Those are SF1 plus X1 into SFG1, or SF1 plus X1 into SG1 minus SF1, or SF1 plus X1 into HFG1 by T1. Then the second condition is also wet, so SF2 plus X2 into SFG2, or SF2 plus X into X2 into SG2 minus SF2, or SF2 plus X2 into HFG2 by T2. So this is how we can find the unknown dryness fraction. See, while solving the problems, only one dryness fraction will be given, either x1 or x2. So while entering the compressor or while leaving the compressor, the dryness fraction will be given. So based on that, we need to determine the other dryness fraction, then only we will be able to calculate the enthalpies. So here H1 is equal to HF1 plus X1 into HFG1, or HF1 plus X1 into HG1 minus HF1. Then H2 is equal to HF2 plus X2 into HFG2, or HF2 plus X2 into Hg2 minus HF2. So this is H2 enthalpy. Now we require one more enthalpy here, that is H4. H4 is the enthalpy with which the refrigerant enters the evaporator. So this H4 is equal to H3. If you observe the pH diagram, throttling expansion is taking place. So H3 will be equal to H4, and you can observe that this point 3 is on the liquid saturation line. So therefore H4 equal to H3, which is equal to HF3. Now try to understand here. There will be two major pressures. One is the condenser pressure, which is the highest pressure of the cycle. So highest pressure of the cycle is from 2 to 3, and the lowest pressure is the evaporator pressure, which is from 4 to 1 here. Now conditions 4 and 1 we have to take corresponding to the lowest pressure, whereas 2 and 3 we need to consider at the highest pressure here. Now these formulas of refrigerating effect, the work input that we are giving to the compressor, heat rejected, and COP, these will not vary with any of the condition, but what varies is H1, H2, S1, S2 values and H4 value with respect to the condition that we have considered. See, when we come across this wet refrigerant entering the compressor and leaving it in wet condition, you can also call this as wet compression. So when it comes to this wet compression, the compressor components get damaged due to corrosion and erosion, because the wet refrigerant is entering into it and leaving it. So compressing this wet refrigerant means this is a mixture of liquid plus vapor. So compressing this liquid plus vapor mixture is a difficult task, and which leads to the corrosion and erosion, and at the same time damage to the compressor components. So this wet refrigerant entering the compressor and leaving it in wet condition will also not yield a very good refrigerating effect. So here the refrigerating effect that we are getting is this one. So this refrigerating effect that we are getting here is less compared to the other cases. So we will be discussing about other cases shortly. So with the given work input, we are not also going to get a proper refrigerating effect. As a result of that, the COP will be less in this particular case. So we should avoid this wet compression in order to get more COP and more refrigerating effect. Now let us see the second condition. Wet refrigerant entering the compressor and leaving it in dry saturated condition. So let us draw the pressure enthalpy and temperature entropy diagrams here. pH and TS diagrams. So pH, and this is the TS diagram. Now wet refrigerant is entering the compressor, that means condition 1 is here. Then process 1 to 2 is isentropic compression. So you should draw a vertical line in the TS diagram like this, and it is leaving the compressor in dry saturated condition. So point 2 should be on the vapor saturation curve. Then here in the pH diagram, one to 2 process will be like this. Then process 2 to 3 is condensation at constant pressure. So from saturated vapor to saturated liquid condition, there will be heat rejection at constant pressure. And here also phase change takes place at constant temperature, called the saturation temperature. Then 3 to 4 is throttling expansion. So throttling expansion in the pH diagram is represented as a vertical line like this. And here the throttling expansion is a curve 3 to 4. Then 4 to 1 is evaporation, which is taking place at constant pressure, and at the saturation temperature this evaporation from state 4 to state 1 takes place. Now here almost the compression is happening in the wet region only, and this case also will not give us more COP. Now let us see what will be the formulas of S1, S2, H1, H2 and H3. So S1 equal to S2. The first condition is wet, so you should take SF1 plus X1 into SFG1, or SF1 plus X1 into SG1 minus SF1, or you can take SF1 plus X1 into HFG1 by T1, depending upon the data given. Then second condition is dry saturated, so simply you can use SG2 as the formula. Then H1 is the initial enthalpy. This will be HF1 plus X1 into HFG1, or HF1 plus X1 into HG1 minus HF1. H2 is dry saturated, so you can simply write it as Hg2. So you can observe that point 2 is dry saturated, so simply it is Hg2. Then H4 enthalpy is equal to H3, which is equal to HF3 here. So H4 is equal to H3, which is equal to HF3. Now in this case also, the formula of refrigerating effect, work input, everything is same, but the conditions H1, H2 and H4 will be different compared to the previous case. As a result of that, there might be a variation in COP compared to the previous case. But if you observe here, in this case and in the previous case, suppose if we put point 1 as same in both the cases, that means the refrigerant entering the compressor in condition 1 and condition 2 are same, then the amount of work input that is required in this particular case will be higher. As a result of more work input, then the COP will reduce in this case. See, remember, here I am considering point 1 as same. That means the entry condition to the compressor in condition 1 and condition 2, I am taking the same. So when we consider so, the amount of work input that is required in order to get wet steam here out and in order to get dry steam here, dry refrigerant here will be different. And in this particular second case, the amount of work consumed by the compressor in order to get a dry saturated refrigerant out will be more. So as a result of that, the COP will be less in this particular case. So try to remember that when we fix this point 1, the amount of work input required is more in this case, and refrigerating effect, even though it is same, the COP will be less in this case because of more work input. Now let us see the third case. So if we consider the third case, wet refrigerant entering the compressor and leaving it in superheated condition. Now let us see pH and TS diagrams in this particular case. Pressure enthalpy and temperature entropy here. Now wet refrigerant is entering into the compressor. So wet refrigerant is entering into the compressor means point 1 is here and point 1 is here. Process 1 to 2 is isentropic compression. So after compression, this is reaching superheated state, superheated condition. So point 2 is here. Then here 1 to 2 is isentropic compression, the pressure increases and at the same time enthalpy increases during compression. Then 2 to 3 is constant pressure heat rejection in the condenser. So in the pH diagram we will get the curve like this. Then 2 to 3 is condensation. So here from the superheated state this has to come down to the saturation condition. Then at saturation condition phase change takes place from 2' to 3. Then 3 to 4 is throttling expansion. So 3 to 4 is throttling expansion, it will be like this, and here 3 to 4 is throttling expansion, which is represented by using a curve in the TS diagram. Then 4 to 1 is constant pressure vaporization in the evaporator, and in the evaporator there will be phase change at constant temperature here. Now in this case, if you observe, the second condition is superheated, so we need to use superheated formulas. That is, if we take S1 is equal to S2 here, the first condition is wet, so wet refrigerant formulas, S1 is equal to SF1 plus X1 into SFG1, or SF1 plus X1 into SG1 minus SF1, or SF1 plus X1 into HFG1 by T1. The second condition is superheated, so S2 will be equal to Sg2 dash plus specific heat of the vapor refrigerant ln superheated temperature by saturation temperature. Then H1 is equal to HF1 plus X1 into HFG1, or HF1 plus X1 into HG1 minus HF1. Then H2 is equal to Hg2 dash plus CPV into T2 minus T2 dash. So second condition is superheated, so we have taken superheated formulas. Then H4 is equal to H3, which is equal to HF3. This is what we need to consider here. Now here also the amount of work input that is required is higher, and as a result of that the COP will be lower in this particular case also. Now let me tell you what happens to the COP in the first three cases by taking a comparison diagram, so that you will understand better in which case the COP might be better. Now we have taken the pH and TS diagrams like this. So the first case that we have considered is wet refrigerant entering the compressor and leaving in wet condition. So 1 to 2, let us say it is like this. Then 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 1 is like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, let us say it is representing case 1. Then here 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, phase change, 3 to 4, throttling expansion, and 4 to 1 is like this. Now see, let me consider this entry condition is same in all the three cases. So if we consider entry condition same in all the three cases, then for the second case also, when dry saturated refrigerant is coming out, this condition also will remain same. So let us say this is 2 dash, and here 1 to 2 dash isentropic compression has to take place, and this should come out in the dry saturated state. Then 2 to 3 dash, this is 2 dash, this is 3 dash, this is phase change. Then here also it will be phase change that will be taking place, and 3 dash to 4 dash throttling expansion, and 4 dash to 1 will be like this. So this is condition 2. So here also you can draw like this, 4 dash to 1. Now let us draw the third case. So the third case is superheated refrigerant should come out. So if superheated refrigerant has to come out, then it will be like this, 1 to 2 double dash, let us say 2 double dash to 3 double dash, 3 double dash to 4 double dash, and 4 double dash to 1. So here if superheated refrigerant has to come out, it should come out from here, this is 2 double dash, then from here superheated to the saturation state, then phase change, then here the throttling expansion has to take place, and 4 double dash to 1 is the refrigerating effect. Now you observe this diagram carefully. If we are considering the same condition at which the refrigerant is coming out from the evaporator, this condition, you can observe that the amount of work that is required to get superheated refrigerant out is higher. So as work input that we are giving is higher, then the COP will be less in the third case. So COP in the first case will be greater than COP in the second case, than COP in the third case, when we have considered the same exit from the same condition exit from the evaporator. Now here you can observe that the COP in condition 1 is more than COP in condition 2 than COP in condition 3, because we are considering here the same exit condition from the evaporator. So the amount of work required for superheated refrigerant to come out from the compressor is more. So therefore these three cases, as they are considering wet refrigerant entering into the compressor, there will be a serious problem with the damage of the compressor components. So that is reason we need to avoid these three conditions. Now let us go for the fourth condition. The fourth condition is dry saturated refrigerant entering the compressor. Now let us consider the pH and TS diagrams here. Pressure enthalpy, temperature entropy diagram here, So pH diagram is like this. Now dry saturated refrigerant is entering into the compressor. So point 1 will be here. So here also point 1 is here. Then isentropic compression takes place. If you observe, if isentropic compression takes place, the second condition is obviously coming into the superheated state. So point 2 will be in the superheated region. So here also isentropic compression, the pressure rises, enthalpy increases. Then 2 to 3 is condensation at constant pressure. So there will be a phase change taking place at constant pressure. Then here from the superheated temperature, the temperature has to drop to saturated state, and at the saturated state phase change takes place at constant temperature or the saturation temperature. Then 3 to 4 is throttling expansion, and here 3 to 4 is throttling expansion. 4 to 1 is constant pressure vaporization, and here the vaporization takes place at a constant temperature called the saturation temperature. Now here also we need to consider S1 is equal to S2. The first condition is dry saturated, so S1 is simply equal to Sg1. Second condition is superheated, so you should take Sg2 dash plus Cpv ln superheated temperature by saturation temperature. So superheated temperature is T2 and saturation temperature is T2 dash. Now here the enthalpies H1 is equal to Hg1 and H2 will be equal to Hg2 dash plus Cpv into T2 minus T2 dash. So this is the formula that we need to remember. And here enthalpy H4 is equal to H3, which is equal to HF3. This will not vary because enthalpy is remaining constant during the throttling process. Now if you observe this fourth case, there is no problem of wet compression because dry saturated refrigerant is entering into the compressor. So there is no problem of corrosion and erosion. Then at the same time the refrigerating effect is also increasing compared to the previous cases. So as the refrigerating effect is more here, the COP is greater than the first three cases. And try to remember that if no condition is given in the question, then you should assume this particular condition and solve the problems. Sometimes they may not give the condition and you have to assume by yourself, and based on that you need to solve. So at that point of time, remember that you should use this fourth condition and solve the problems. Now let us go to the next case. So in this case we are considering superheated refrigerant entering the compressor. So if we consider superheated refrigerant entering the compressor, so let us consider the pH and TS diagrams here. So you will get like this, the saturated liquid and saturated vapor lines in the pH and TS diagrams. Now superheated refrigerant entering the compressor, that means position 1 will be outside the vapor dome like this. Position 1 is outside the vapor dome. 1 to 2 is isentropic compression, so you will get a vertical line in the TS diagram like this, whereas in the pH diagram the pressure increases and at the same time enthalpy increases due to compression. Then 2 to 3 is condensation at constant pressure. You will have the curve like this or line like this in the pH diagram, and in the TS diagram the temperature comes down to the saturated state, then phase change takes place from 2' to 3. Then 3 to 4 is throttling expansion. You will come across the throttling expansion like this, and here 3 to 4 the expansion will be like this. Now 4 to 1, at constant pressure there will be vaporization in the evaporator, so you will get the curve like this, and here from 4 to 1' there will be phase change in the evaporator, and 1' to 1 superheating happens. That means the temperature of the refrigerant increases in the evaporator itself. Now if you observe, the entry condition and exit condition both are superheated, so he will give only one superheated temperature. We have to determine the other by using this S1 equal to S2 condition. So S1 will be equal to Sg1' plus Cpv ln superheated temperature is T1 by saturation temperature is T1'. The second condition is also superheated, so S2 is equal to Sg2' plus Cpv ln T2 by T2'. Then H1 is equal to Hg1' plus Cpv into T1 minus T1', and H2 is equal to Hg2' plus Cpv into T2 minus T2', and H4 is equal to H3, which is equal to HF3. This we need to consider. Now if you observe this diagram carefully, the amount of refrigerating that effect that we are getting, so the refrigerating that we are effect that we are getting here is this one, and if you observe, of all the conditions that we have learned, this is giving us more refrigerating effect. So H1 minus H4 is the refrigerating effect, and that refrigerating effect can be obtained from the pressure enthalpy diagram. So the area under this 4-1 curve will give us the refrigerating effect. So this refrigerating effect is more compared to all the 5 conditions. As a result of that, this condition will give us more COP. But here the evaporator should function very perfectly, then only we will be able to achieve superheated condition at the end of this evaporator. So this is one important thing that we need to remember here. Now see, without any variation in the compressor work input, we need to improve the COP of this vapor compression refrigeration system. So without any variation in the compressor work input means this 1 to 2 condition should remain the same, but we need to improve the COP. So 1 to 2 condition is remaining the same means the highest pressure of the cycle, that is the condenser pressure, and the lowest pressure of the cycle must remain same. In order to improve the COP, we need to consider a 6th condition, that is superheated refrigerant is entering the compressor subcooled or undercooled refrigerant leaving the condenser. Now let us draw the pressure enthalpy and temperature entropy diagrams. So pH and TS diagrams like this. So you will get a bell-shaped curve like this, and in the pH diagram the curve will be like this. Now superheated refrigerant is entering the compressor means condition 1 will be outside this vapor dome, and here also condition 1 is here. 1 to 2 is isentropic compression. You will get a vertical line in the TS diagram like this, and 1 to 2 in the pH diagram is represented like this. Then 2 to 3 is condensation at constant pressure. Here just try to understand, dear students. So during condensation, this refrigerant should leave the condenser in the subcooled or undercooled condition. That means that should be below the liquid saturation line. So here from this superheated state to the saturation state there should be a drop in temperature. Then phase change should take place from 2' to 3'. Then the temperature of the refrigerant should decrease due to subcooling or undercooling of the refrigerator, of the refrigerant in the condenser. So the temperature drops due to subcooling or undercooling. See, subcooling or undercooling is the process in which the temperature of the refrigerant will come below the saturation temperature corresponding to that pressure. So that is the reason we have taken 0.3 here. 3 to 4 is throttling expansion. You should represent it like this. And throttling expansion in the TS diagram looks like this. Then 4 to 1, at constant pressure there will be vaporization in the evaporator. Then at saturation temperature there will be phase change in the evaporator, and after that superheating of the refrigerant takes place in the evaporator from 1' to 1. So this is how the pH and TS diagrams look. Now if you observe the previous case and this case, I have told you that without variation in this pressure, the highest pressure and the lowest pressure of the cycle, that means the amount of work input that we are giving from 1 to 2, we need to improve the efficiency or COP. So in order to improve that, we need to improve the refrigerating effect. So work input to the compressor should remain the same. So refrigerating effect should increase. For that reason, we have shifted this 3 to 4 condition to here, such that there is an improvement in the refrigerating effect without any variation in the work input that we are giving. That means there is an additional increase of this much amount of the refrigerating effect with the same work input. So that is the reason in the 6th condition we are going to get the maximum COP in all the cases, because of this subcooling or undercooling in the condenser. Now let us see what happens to these S1, S2 values. S1 is equal to S2. Both are superheated conditions. So S1 is equal to Sg1 dash plus specific heat CPV ln T1 by T1 dash. Then S2 will be equal to Sg2 dash plus CPV ln T2 by T2 dash. Then H1 will be equal to Hg1 dash plus CPV into T1 minus T1 dash, and H2 will be equal to Hg2 dash plus CPV into T2 minus T2 dash. Now here H4 will be equal to H3 but not equal to HF3. The reason is, in this particular case you can observe that H4 enthalpy is equal to H3, and HF3 means enthalpy of liquid is up to this particular point. This is HF3 dash. corresponding to that pressure, from the tables we will get this enthalpy, but we require this enthalpy, which is H4 is equal to H3. So in order to get this H4 is equal to H3, we need to subtract this much amount of enthalpy, from HF3 dash. So what is this amount of enthalpy? So this amount of enthalpy will be specific heat of the liquid refrigerant. See here, from 3 dash to 3 it is entering into subcooled region. That means this is the liquid region. So therefore specific heat of the liquid into here T3 dash minus T3. So the temperature is decreasing from T3 dash to T3. So therefore CPL into T3 dash minus T3 we need to consider. So H4 is equal to H3, which is equal to HF3 dash minus specific heat of the liquid refrigerant into T3 dash minus T3. This will give us the value of H4 in this particular case. Now see why we have taken CPL here and CPV here. What is this V here is, this is representing the vapor state. You can observe that all this is in the vapor region or the steam condition. So I am just putting specific heat at constant pressure of the vapor, whereas you can observe here I have taken specific heat at constant pressure of the liquid. The reason is this region is the liquid region. So try to understand that. Now you can observe this sixth case is going to give us the maximum COP because of subcooling or undercooling. Now this subcooling or undercooling, in order to achieve this, the condenser efficiency should be higher. So this condenser should be more efficient and it has to reject more amount of heat. Then only we will be able to achieve this subcooled condition or undercooled condition. So after achieving this subcooled or undercooled condition, then only we will be able to get more COP because the refrigerating effect is increasing. So try to understand this clearly, dear students. So this is the most important thing that you need to remember.